Hello and welcome back. I'm going to do a video. We can't go digging right now in January, unfortunately, so we're looking at our bottles, and I've got a group of bottles that I find really interesting. It's a group I've been trying to put together for years. They're pretty rare. They're embossed bottles from the 1800s that have different types of animal oils embossed right on the bottle, like bear's oil is kind of one of the more desired ones in the hobby. So I think I've got 7 different animals, and I just think they're neat. And I'm looking, there's 3 other ones that I'm trying to find, and I'll tell you about those as well. And if you have one, let me know, and maybe I'll buy it, because I haven't been able to dig one yet. So I'll make this quick. This is the last time you'll see my face. The rest will be my hands and bottles. Setting the camera up in my little gizmo that I got for Christmas, so you won't get so many of these things. All right, that's it. Are we running? 1, 2, 3. For those of you that know me at all, which is probably just a handful, you know that I love to travel up north towards the Arctic, towards northern Canada, Labrador, Newfoundland, Alaska. That's where I like to adventure when I can. A few years back, my buddy and I went to Labrador, and we're in a little village called Nain, N-A-I-N. Had 700 people in it, and we just picked that off the map, poked and said that's where we're going to go. Took a little bush plane and landed there and walked around, and just checked the place out. While we were there, we're just walking down this driveway, and this kid comes walking up with a wheelbarrow, and I didn't look like a dead body. It was a dead body, but it was a seal. He took a picture of the guts, and I just asked him what he was doing, but he didn't speak good English, and he told me just barely what he took, but I can imagine he was using the meat and the oils and the skin and whatever you would use from a seal. And it got me to thinking and appreciating what people did back in the day 100 years ago and used whatever they had. So this collection of oil bottles represents that. I just go with the embossed bottles because you can put a paper label on any bottle. That's kind of cheating for a bottle digger as far as I'm concerned. This one is one of the more popular ones called bear's oil. Just embossed bear's oil that way. There are variants that have it in an arc that way or an arc that way. This one is just simply bear's oil, and it's got a beautiful open Pontil mark right there, really sharp, crude one, and a really thin, paper thin, flared lip. So it dates 1850s, 1860s. It was a hair bottle, which is kind of confusing because I'm trying to imagine, women. You see a picture of women back then; they had big, huge pile of hair on top of their head, and like how much would a little bottle like this of bear's oil be able to do? And it would have been a pricey bottle to manufacture, empty. So it's not like just a plain vial or something. It's embossed. It's kind of a fancy bottle, so it was an expensive product. So it would have been a wealthier family that used this. While I'm at it, I want to just show in this book one of the ones that I'm looking for. Similarly is pontiled and has a flared lip, and that's what it looks like right there. But that one says sea otter oil, and it's sea otter oil F. Brown, Boston, and there is only one whole example known, and it was in this is it was in this Greer collection auction years ago, and now a gentleman that I know owns it, and he promised me he would sell it to me someday, so we'll see if that works out, but we'll see. Now this one, for those of you who aren't collectors, you hear the phrase snake oil salesman. This is a Clark Stanley's snake oil liniment, and who the heck knows what was in it? It says it on 3 sides. Clark Stanley snake oil liniment. This is from the 1890s. And you see the movies, and you see the guy with the hat and his wagon, and he's selling you know, his elixir and says it cures whatever. If you're sick, that's what it's going to cure. This is a fairly common bottle. It's not a beautiful bottle. It's that clear 1890s glass, but you know, it's got value to it because of what it says, and it's just pretty cool. I don't know if there are any other bottles that come right out and say this is snake oil, believe it or not. Now, I heard that there's a bottle embossed rattlesnake oil, and I would love to see one of those. I can't find a picture of one anywhere. Next one I've got, I paid a pretty penny for it. This one is Joseph Cold Box Porpoise oil. I forgot what it said. Sorry. Porpoise oil, for God's sakes. Joseph Coldbach's Pure Porpoise Dressing, Louisville, Kentucky. With an embossed picture of a porpoise on it. Doesn't look much like a porpoise. Maybe they didn't really know what a porpoise was back then. This dates to the 1880s. It's very rare. There's only a few of these out on the market. That's why it costs some money. This is the 1880s or 90s. It's got the kind of the tooled lip. The lip isn't laid on like the earlier 1860s and 70s bottles. It was hand tooled. It's got smooth base, so that puts it at 1880 to 1890, right in that vicinity. Typically, the line ends just under the lip. That's one of the best ones that I've got, and I would love to find the another one that is. This is why I hesitated, because I just had it in my head. There's one that says Sturgeon Oil. That one's from Montana. I looked up what Sturgeon Oil claimed, and it said that Sturgeon Oil, it was many different things. It said it could be a liniment for joints, sore throat. They would use the oil from the sturgeons, and they would take the bodies of the sturgeons and stack them like cordwood and dry them out and use them as fuel on steamboats. I read that right out of a very legitimate source, and when I read it, I said, "Are you serious?" But it sounds legit. They use it as an additive to something called pemmican, which seems to be kind of like goulash is to Americans in Europe. Kind of, you can call it what you want to call it, but they call it pemmican. It's a mixture of dried meats, berries, and fats. So, to some people and to Native Americans, it says they used sturgeon oil to help make this pemmican, which was like a high-calorie, something great for pioneers and hikers and people that are going to be on the road and needed the nutritional value. Anyways, 1, 2, 3. Number 4. Yes, I said it. Beaver Oil. Beaver Oil. This was for a liniment, so it's for joints and for killing pain. Whatever was on the label panel of this would describe exactly what it was. But it was a kind of a generic medicinal, and because it was made of beaver oil, they could claim that it did lots of outrageous things. I'm assuming this isn't a product that lasted for a long time. This bottle is just from the 1890s, and it's a pretty uncommon bottle. It's not one that you see very often. I don't think the company was in business for very long. But it's cool that they did another embossed bottle for me. I wrote down that beaver oil. Beaver oil was also for insomnia, menstrual cramps, and anxiety. That's pretty strange. Now, of all the animal oils, the most common one that we dig when we're digging embossed bottles is cod liver oil. There's one that's Phillips cod liver oil. There's Scott's emulsion cod liver oil, real common. I bought this one because I liked the, this is like a cornflower blue color. I bought it off of eBay, yes, I'm sorry I did. And didn't quite realize that it was English. No offense to anybody, but you can tell by the shape of the base there and that marking. You know, and honestly, it's not a lot different than an American bottle, but if you are somebody that buys and sells a lot of bottles, you'll look at that and your first thing you think is, it's probably English. I wasn't sure, wasn't expensive. This one is Allen and Hansberry perfected, in quotes, perfected cod liver oil. It's real pretty. It looks good in the collection. Now, when I was a little kid, one of the first bottles that I dug, I think I was 13 or 14, said Sperm Oil. And man, my buddy and I thought that was the funniest thing we ever heard. Went into school the next day and told the guys what we dug up. And this one here says Sperm Lubricating Oil, prepared by Gould and Cutler, Boston. This is a really uncommon one of these. The most common is, I'm just going to show you a few. This one just says Sperm Sewing Machine Oil, Sperm Whale. I should have said that right off the bat, I suppose. I've got a few different ones. Sewing Machine Oil, Sperm Sewing Machine Oil, Larkin Machine Oil. This one my buddy Ben gave me. This does not say sperm on it, but it's the same type of bottle. And it was Sperm Sewing Machine Oil because that's what they were using at the time. This one is Sewing Machine Oil, warranted not to gum. D.W. Bancroft, Marshfield, Vermont. And that is one heck of a rare bottle. Now, when I had these, I was scuba diving in a river here in New Hampshire, and I pulled up this one, and I was really excited. As soon as I saw it, even far away, I said, I wonder if that's a sewing machine oil of some sort. And with my scuba gear, you know, I come up a little closer, and it's sitting right there, and sure enough, sewing machine oil. But look at how crude and, you know, the glass is, and that real primitive embossing. So I'm looking to see, I see sewing machine oil, and I'm wondering if it's going to say whale or sperm whale, and instead it had this word paraffin, which at the time I didn't know what it was, but paraffin is a type of wax, and that's what they used on sewing machines until the advent of whale oil. And as soon as whale oil came out, this here company went out of business, because whale oil at the time was a lot cheaper and worked a lot better. Finish this up quickly. Carefully push them aside. I also got this scuba diving. Clunk. I use this as a doorstop. I'm putting it on here just because it has to do with animals. It has, I didn't know what this was. And this is one of the things that I got diving in this hobby that took me the longest time to identify. And I'm curious as to how many of you know what it is before I tell you. That's the number 14. And when you feel it, yeah, I mean, it's lead. It feels like it's about 14. This here is just a company name, D-A-L-E-C, Dalek. And then it's got this hook, and I thought it was a chime weight to a big, maybe a church clock, maybe the town clock. You know, it's got this big hook, and it turns out that it's a cow weight, and it was a type of cow weight you wouldn't, you know, a farm wouldn't use this. A household would use this for their single milk cow. They might not have a big barn or a place to put the cow in all the time. So they would tie it onto a bridle, you know, onto a rope, tie this on the end of it, and this didn't hold the cow, but it made it so that it wouldn't run away, it wouldn't wander off, because it would tug onto this, and eventually it might pull it a few yards, but it kept it, you know, stuck in one place long enough that the cow wouldn't take off to the other side of town. And these are very common in like the 1700s, and I was in front of a 1700s house. And that number 4, I'm sure you can't really see the font on it. Maybe you can. But that's a really early style numeral. So in my head, I think it's from the 1700s. And it was an exciting thing to get. And then, last but not least, I was mudlarking for sea glass and bottles. And I came across this big, humongous thing. And it was covered in mud, and I'm like thinking it's a rock. But I'm thinking, man, that looks different. I'm looking at those holes and whatnot. And it turned out to be a great big whale's vertebrae. And I'm sure it's the oldest thing I've ever dug. It would certainly have to be. This is, if it was pure white, it would be, you know, on the new side. It could have happened 5 years ago. But when it's petrified like this, then all bets are off. It could be, I don't want to say how many thousands of years old, maybe, who knows, but it was on the seashore here in Kittery. I think you can get a good view of what that looks like. So that's the top half of one of its big vertebrae, and so I display my whale oil bottle collection on top of it, and I think it's so freaking cool. Anyways, that's all, and I hope some of that was interesting. I think it's an interesting category. The bottles I'm looking for, if you know anybody who has one, I'm looking for that sea otter oil bottle from Boston. I'm looking for a lizard oil bottle from Texas. I'm looking for a sturgeon oil bottle from Montana, or anything else that you think would fall into that category. I appreciate you listening, and stick my head in there one more time for good luck, and hope to see you again. Thanks. Maybe it's green. Maybe it's a tool top. And this will be embarrassing. In which case, nobody will see this, so who cares? Ah, cool. It's a JSB, and I think it's in a pretty good color. It's a pretty good color. Let's see what else we got.